Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Through the Fire. I am your host, Ryan Wickline, and today we're joined by a very special guest. He's an entrepreneur, author, and podcaster, Mr. Tim Holloway. How you doing today,
Awesome.
Tim?
I'm doing great, brother. I just wanted to say that I appreciate you very much for allowing me on your show. I appreciate you and the title of this show, and I relate highly to that name and what you're representing here today. So I appreciate you, brother. Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate you too. Man, I'm excited because we have very, very similar stories.
Yeah, yeah. I just found that out.
Kind of crazy how that works, isn't it?
It is. It is. I some of it was a little bit of mystery. I didn't know the details of some of your story, but very, very relatable and very similar backgrounds. Yes.
Yeah. So, number one question is, who is Tim Holloway?
Yeah. So I have my identity. I think rested it as the Son of God is as the light of the world. The things, the identity that God speaks over you. I think that's kind of like my foundational sort of thing. As far aside from that, I'm of course a husband, a father, entrepreneur, author, podcaster, all that different stuff. And I'm passionate about all of those. So when it comes to things that fire me up, if it's in those realms of faith, family, fitness, obviously, I have a very strict fitness routine and business and entrepreneurship. Like I'm passionate about all of those things. My goal is to, be the best man I could be as far as living holistically in all of those areas of my life.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
a tough balancing act, but I think like exercise really helps that out.
it does. It does. I was about 270 pounds from alcoholism, and so I did a bout with addiction with meth when I was in my younger years, and then I went a second round with alcohol in my later years, and found myself 270 pounds, multiple kidney stones, a lot of health problems, and that was about 7 years ago, and yeah, something had to change really quick, and so. Yeah, I'm about 100 pounds down from that, and extremely healthy. I still got one kidney stone. It's not too bad. We'll see what happens with that one, but the other two are gone. So I'm happy for
Yeah.
that.
You look good though, man.
Thank you. It's been a lot of work.
What was your childhood like?
Yeah. So man, my mother was a prostitute, and so you can imagine what the life of a child is like when their mother's a prostitute. You name it, we experienced it. But before we were born, she she had a child taken away and a child murdered, and it was through this. The child was taken away because of the murder. And so before we were born, she's already got this track record of picking abusive men, and she hooks up with my dad. I'm a product of a conjugal visit. You were allowed to get married back then in order to have conjugal visits. I don't think they do that much anymore, but anyways, I'm a product of a conjugal visit. They were not together when he got out. Here I am. I'm one of a kind, unique.
Yeah.
And any rates, she was addicted to heroin, meth. Our home was absolutely terrible, man. You can drugs, violence, prostitution. Um, I was a murder that happened at our house, slit from throat to ear to ear, and so the government came in and took us all away. I was 10 years old when the government stepped in and took us away, and I was given custody to my grandmother, And she enrolled me in Christian school and got me in like tough love counseling. And I had a social worker, and I was a ward of the court, and the court decided what was going to happen with me. And so there was a lot of social workers, a lot of court cases, and all that kind of stuff. Well, it didn't take long for me to end up on probation. But anyways, I went to wake my grandma up when I was 13, and she didn't wake up, man. And I was devastated, and it really shook my world. And that's when I lost kind of any sort of gleam of hope. My dad's in prison, most of my life, taken away from my mother. Grandmother's the only one that loved me. Now she's gone. I was playing this whole story. And anyways, I just went out on the streets. I moved in with a 35-year-old meth head down the street. We started doing dope together. And she was having problems with her man, and was moving and separating. And, this young kid just moving in with this 35-year-old tweaker down the street, man.
Wow.
That was my life. Dad still in prison, running the streets. This was, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. I was about 17 when I stumbled into this church, and I was high as a kite, man. I've been up for days, and this girl that I was messing around with, she was conscience was attacking her, and she's like, I just really want to go to church. I really want to go to church. And then I told her, I said I would go to church, and then she's like, all right, you ready to go? I'm like, oh man, honestly, I was just trying to get in her pants. I didn't know that we had to do this whole church thing. Anyway, so yeah, I went to church, and I heard the message talking to me the whole time. Like I'm like just like on one, and just I got out of there as quick as I could, man, and ended up overdosing a couple days later. And during this time, I'm screaming at God. I'm telling him, all this stuff, and letting out all of this garbage that's in my life directed towards him. And as my heart's stumping, my ears are like closed off and just tunnel vision. All I can hear is like my heartbeat just boom, 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 boom. It's like, whoo. I swallowed a bunch of dope, and then I left the dope house. Before I left the dope house, they did the biggest line that I've ever seen. So I swallowed some before I left, and it took like 30 minutes to kick in. Then I hit that big old thing, and whoo, I was done. I was like 100 pounds. Trying to do dope like a freaking 200-pound man, and so yeah, I ended up overdosing. That was my come to Jesus moment. I was like, Lord, I need help.
So what made you want to change then?
I attribute it to afraid initially, because I was afraid of meeting my maker like that, because I came out of that situation of overdosing, of screaming obscenities towards God, and so that whole day, like I was spooked, as obviously, and I went and sat on a hammock, and I just sat there all day long. So this happened in the morning. So from all my buddy dropped me off because he was all spooked out. And he's like, I'm not going to get caught with him, man. And so he dropped me off, and so I'm sitting on this hammock, and I'm contemplating my life, and I'm like, the thought hit me as like, wow, I'm going to go into the next life like this. And it scared me, man, because I was like, gosh, if I'm going to meet my maker like this, then I have, I should be very concerned about meeting my maker like this. So it was initially a little bit of concern for my welfare and my soul, and so yeah, I was crying out for help, and God helped me, and stumbled into that same church again. Gave my life to Christ, started going to meetings, and this old lady, she said that, well, you can live here if you stay in the program and you go to these meetings. And she was in Al-Anon. So Al-Anon, you're probably familiar with, the parents of recovering alcoholics, or the family of. And so she knew all about alcoholics and addicts, and she read my mail, and she was assertive, and she gave boundaries, and she was an amazing woman. And so yeah, she let me stay there. She took me to 2 meetings a week, and then I went to church, and then I went to another meeting. So I was hitting like 3 meetings a week and going to church, and just staying away from where I wasn't supposed to be.
Yeah. I mean, I can relate to that because I was going to meetings and I took a layoff from work and I was going to daily mass. And daily mass at that time was starting at like 7 o'clock, and it was the middle of winter, snowing, and didn't have a license or anything, so I would walk about half a mile in the snow to church, walk home, do nothing but read the Bible. Was like completely ghost mode from everybody except when I went to those meetings.
Yeah. So I caught slipping twice. The one time I made it. This is where the first time God was real for me, when the meth pipe was coming around. I went to go drop off a bike to my friend, and I walked in, and they were in the circle. I got pulled. I don't know how I got into the circle. It was just, I didn't plan on doing that or being there. And it came to me, and I'm like, oh Lord Jesus, like help me. I don't know how the heck I got here. Like, this wasn't my intention. Please help me. And so I grabbed the pipe, and I passed it to the person next to me, which I never said no anytime in my life. Like, I never said no. And so I got caught slipping there, and I overcame that. But my mentor in this, obviously I was in a skinhead gang when I was a kid, and kind of Peckerwoods and doing stupid stuff. And my sister was having her baby, and that was my mentor that brought me up in all of this gang garbage, And so I went to visit her because she had her baby, and I got sucked in to that, and I was on one for a couple weeks. So yeah, it's, when you first start out in recovery, it's you have to be super, super careful, because you'll get sucked back in like super quick. And you may not even know, like, yeah, I can go. My sister, she's having a baby. No, you can't. Not without somebody strong next to you. You can't.
I cut off a lot of people. I even cut out some family members there for a time being, even though I could, just because they drank. And if I drink, I knew where I'm going to end up. I knew that. So, I mean, I had to cut ties with a lot of people at times. And then God slowly took me around people. It was like, here. And just like you, I'd go places for like maybe 10 minutes at a time, because then that urges would start. And I'd be like, okay, I got to go.
Yeah. Yeah. I had to cut a lot of the family off. I have some of family that I'm connected with today, but a lot of, I'm dead in the middle. So 5 brothers, 6 sisters, and so it's a very large family and a very dysfunctional family, as you can imagine. Like, everybody's on drugs, everybody's doing time, like even the women. So this is crazy. Like, even the women in my family are straight up gangsters. Like, my sister's in prison time. My sister's in prison now. My other sister's in prison now. My stepmother did some 3-4 years in prison. Like, even the women are just nuts in my family. It's crazy.
Damn. What led you to start podcasting?
Yeah, so I started helping at-risk youth. I did that for about 10 years in urban city, LA, Long Beach, Compton, Watts. We got all the kids from the gangsta hoods, and pulled them out of the hood and took them up to the mountains, and got them far away from their hood, and begin to help them. And so I started to do a lot of inner work on myself, and working on myself, seeing them on how to help them change and transform. I seen the younger version of me and how some things I was still hanging on to and what I needed to change and transform. So helping them gave me a massive personal growth journey, and set me on a trajectory to get better and better. Where before that, even though I was not using drugs, I was digressing. And that's because I wasn't dealing with a lot of my stuff, that I was what people would call like a dry drunk, that you're sober or you're clean, but you haven't really worked on yourself yet.
Yeah.
So that evolved to a personal journey. And so by the end of that, I was ready to start sharing my story. So what happened was I just went on Facebook Live when it first came out. So this, about 7-8 years ago. I was still drinking at the time. So it's probably like 8 or 9 years ago, because I've been sober for like seven years. And I went on there and shared my story, and it went viral. Like there wasn't a lot of people like sharing their story or being real during that time. Everything was just kind of fake and whatever. So I went on there, and like within 2 days, like 50,000 people had seen this, and then like flooding my Facebook, and wanting to interview, like, so it was like crazy. And I felt a little bit hypocritical because, I told my story, but I was still struggling. I was still drinking. I still haven't dealt with a lot of things. So, I felt a little bit hypocritical at the time. So I didn't do much with it. But when I came back around, I'm like, oh man, this is what I'm going to do. And so, yeah, that's kind of the personal journey that led to podcasting. Was my story hitting home. And then I'm like, man, now that I'm clean, I want to take this story to more people. Yeah.
Nice. How
Yes,
many
sir.
podcasts do you currently have?
So I run a podcast marketing agency, and we're kind of like what you would consider a podcast network. So right now we have like 20 podcasts they're managing and that are inside of our network. Over this past 8 years, we've launched hundreds of podcasts. I would say probably at least 200 in 8 years. And so what I neglected to tell you was that after I started my podcast, all the people around me wanted to start a podcast too. And I'm like, okay. And they're like, can you show me how you did everything? I'm like, I think so. Let me check. And so I started another podcast to see if I got everything down good, and was able to launch. And at that time, Apple was big on the new and noteworthy. So that was kind of the big buzz thing. And so I was able to get on there with both shows. And then everybody started asking me like, how do you do that? And so I started a business.
It's crazy how that works. I mean, and podcasting's taken off. Like I told you my story about how I started podcasting. Like I would not have known how to do any of this if a guy wanted to show me how.
Yeah. So there's so many little small steps. It's not like that the whole process is difficult, but when you like break down all the like steps
Yeah.
and to do it successfully, and all the different small little things that need to be done, that's where it gets a little bit overwhelming, that there's so many steps to completion, that a lot of times people need somebody to walk them through the process and get them up and running.
Yeah.
People can usually after they've gotten running, they can learn some new skills, but it's really hard to learn all of those skills initially and start a show.
Yeah.
It's better to start a show, and then once you can breathe, then start learning those skills,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What types of services do you provide then with your marketing?
Yeah. So the network, what the network is so we're all linked and connected together. So when someone listens to one podcast, then the app recommends the next. So we're all like in line together. And so, of course, the successful podcasts are at the front of that, like mine and some of the other ones, that they kind of interlink together. But what also happens is The best way to explain it is there are all kinds of web pages out there with all kinds of content. And what we've done is we developed an app that identifies the content of that page that matches the podcast in our network. So, for example, if the page is talking about business, then the app picks the business podcast that best represents the content on the page, and then recommends them that episode. So when they're scrolling the page, it would pop up as a push button notification. And you know how they make these. They're so hard not to press them. And so they press them and they go through, and we get a lot of traction through blog marketing.
Yeah.
Yep.
What's probably the biggest challenge your clients face then?
So most of my clients are in the healthcare profession. So doctors, dentists, weight loss coaches. We have some like financial coaches and stuff like that. And the biggest problem that they have is they're successful. It's their biggest problem. And with that success comes they have to maintain a certain amount of focus on the business and priorities and all these different things. So their biggest problem, and that's where we come in and solve that problem, is this doctor here cannot stop treating patients to go learn how to chop up a video and do the intro and do the titles and do the uploading, splice up the reels and, do all of this stuff. So it's like, that's the problem, is they have enough on their plate already. They don't have time for that. And that's the exact problem that we solve for those people.
Yeah, man, that takes care of a lot of the problems though, because I know I never worried about like the editing or any of that stuff. The guy who I worked with, he told me just record, put it out,
Yeah.
all the flaws, everything. It didn't matter, just do it.
Yeah. I'd recommend polishing later and refining later.
Yeah.
Because the best thing that you could do is take action. And even if it's messy action, I think it's more important that you get the reps and the skills and get yourself out there than it is perfection and polish. If you feel like you want to polish and refine things as you get moving, like, feel free, but get moving.
Yeah. I think that's what I needed too, because it would have been, trying to be a perfectionist and then being scared to put it out there and just put yourself out there and just say, hey, I'm just going to put myself out here and just do it.
Yeah, just do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
You talk about being a man of influence and value. What does that mean to you?
So I think that service would probably be kind of top on the list. So the way I define this is, are you showing up in the world to solve problems and identifying those problems? So, I feel like one of my superpowers is that I can spot a problem. And this is the reason why we're able to create a business, because I was able to take advantage of the opportunity, see the problem, and then provide a solution to the problem. And so I think some of the greatest people that do the greatest good inside of the world are people that have a service mindset. And that is, well, what problem do you have? And how can we solve that problem? And then when you think of it like in a business mindset, it would be, how can I solve that problem at scale so I can solve a bunch of people's problems?
Yeah.
That's all it is. I don't particularly think you have the right or the ability to make more money than your ability to serve. And so I think, revenue is tied to service. It is. But you have to, those who serve well, it seems to work out pretty good for them.
Yeah. That's kind of
that's
what
my
I was
motto.
always taught too, was about serving others before you serve yourself, and everything will take care of itself.
It will. It will. Absolutely. That's a good motto to have.
Why do you think podcasting has taken off and become so popular?
So here's my take on it, is that I watch ads come through my Facebook all the time, and the ads are become a public speaker, get on stages, share your story. Bradley, he's a famous dude with courses and podcaster and really big in the podcast space. But one of his ads showed up recently for me too, and he's like, "I'm looking for people who have a comeback story." So I say all that to say, there is an innate drive to vocally communicate, to tell our story, to feel like we're making a difference, to inspire others, at least mature people who have overcome some stuff, who want to reach down to the younger version of them and give them a hand up and pull them up to their level. There's just this innate desire of those kind of people to make a difference. And to me, one of the greatest ways to make a difference is through the transformation of mindsets and belief systems. And the only way you can transform mindset and belief system is through the eyes or the ears. And that is, they have to read something that begins to challenge or transform them, or they have to hear something that challenges or transforms them. So when it comes to podcasting, I really don't know, any other method that would be more effective in challenging limiting beliefs and mindsets and stuff like that. So
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I mean, I know that was the reason why I started this, was to get more reps to go on stages. And I went through a couple, like, talked to some coaches and everything, and they were like, "Hey, we can get you on all these podcasts." I'm like, "Why do I need you to help get me on a podcast? I already have one, and I got a whole network of people I can go on at any time."
yes.
It's like,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Yeah. It's I go on podcast probably like twice a month, but I do a lot of podcasts. So the ratio of me doing my own podcast is maybe like 8, and then I might go on 2. I think
Yeah.
going on some shows every once in a while is pretty good, but definitely focus on your own show.
Yeah. Who do you think should start a podcast?
Who do I think?
Yeah.
Um, the people that I love already have a podcast.
Now, I'm like, to any listener out there who think they could start one, who do you think out of them should start? Like, what type of backgrounds?
Yes. Okay. So here's here's something crazy. You think that it wouldn't be a good niche, but you would be surprised. Okay. And over these years of launching all kinds of different shows, I am constantly surprised about the shows that I think wouldn't do well. Like, one was like a trash hauling thing, right? And you think of like, oh my gosh, like, how can a trash hauling podcast like do anything? Hey, like, one of the biggest podcasts right now is a garage door guy.
Talking about how he installs it, doors.
This guy is amazing. Like, he's got like one of the most amazing podcasts, and he started out just talking about garage doors. Now it's evolved since then. He's got a garage door empire, and he's like, a multi-million-dollar owner now, but it started out with garage doors. So, like, when people tell me, well, what would work? Almost anything would work if you show up as your real self and talk about something that you're really passionate about. It has the potential to work.
Yeah. I think you definitely have to be passionate about what you're talking about.
Yes. Yes.
What inspired you to become an author?
I have an overload of content. My brain does not shut off. And so I'm constantly feel like a flood of ideas and stuff like that. And so there's a sense of personal fulfillment with receiving and then giving. And for me, it never gets turned off that way. Now I've experienced like things in life where I was feeling like emotionally down or whatever, and you just kind of stop the flow. And there's a couple of things that happen during that time. You feel kind of an overall discontentment, and then you also feel when it's time to get rolling again, a little bit of hard to get back into the flow. And so I just kind of maintain this daily habits of it's called discover and declare. So I will discover some things, something new, learn something, books, podcast, all these different things, but I'm not going to just discover it. I'm going to declare it. And that is, I'm going to digest it, chew on it, sit on it, and I'm going to find a way to communicate it to somebody else. And this is a really good lesson that I learned in some personal development book. It's probably 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Is that the best retaining of the information is the full digestion of it and the speaking it out as in training also. And I've been doing that for years.
Yeah. Like John Maxwell talks about that. He's like, learn a little bit, do a little bit, learn a little bit, do a
Yeah,
little bit. Like,
that's good.
the way you'll retain it all and take
Yeah.
action. You're taking action instead of just learning it and never doing anything with it.
Yeah. I always consume information with the thought of I'm going to pass this on in some way or fashion. And the retention rate is proven to be a lot higher. For example, if you had to watch this thing and then you had to do a presentation on it tomorrow, well, let me tell you, you're going to be far more absorbing of the content.
Yeah. How many books have you written, and can you tell us about them?
Yeah, so I've written quite a few, at least a dozen. I'll tell you about this one right here. This one here is Things to Know Before You Grow. And so the premise of this book is kind of what Jesus talked about: to seek, ask, and knock, and it shall be given unto you. That there's a process to growing, and it starts with desire, honestly, first, and that is, what is it that you want? So if you say like, I'm starting a podcast, cool. What do you want to do with the podcast? Like, where do you see it in 3 years? Can you see it? Can you visualize it? Can you map it out? Can you do the actions necessary that it's going to get you there? So it's very this I don't think anybody can grow without these principles. I mean, you have to tap into your desire and in order to see it, in order to build it. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a recent
I
one.
like that. I mean, because you do you're kind of mapping it out backwards. You know the destination, so you're just mapping it out backwards to build your action plan, kind of.
Yeah, kind of what I lay out in here is like, so if you're giving a talk, then you would map it out backwards too. If you're giving a solo podcast, you would map it out backwards. If there's so many things where we would map things out backwards,
Yeah,
and so if you wanted to produce a transformation in the people that are listening to you, well, you have to ask the question: then what is it that you want them to do? And what is it that you want them to take home and to apply? And then once you like have that, then you can just like kind of map out the whole process to get them there. Well, if you know where you want to go with your podcast or with your business, you can be like, well, I want this and I want this and I want this. And then you can kind of map it out backwards to begin. But it all starts with like desire, like what
yeah,
it is that you really want. And here's one thing I would say about that is that we want so small. And that's because sometimes our environments are so limited, like me, wrong side of the track, welfare culture. I mean, my parents are living on Social Security and welfare. We're getting food stamps. Like, so we're trained and programmed to think small. And so I would encourage anybody who is starting anything, podcast, book, course, business, whatever it is think really, really big. Like step outside the box, let it shake you a little bit, let it be kind of scary. Build that desire up.
Yeah. Yep. We serve a big God who wants to give you big things. Don't put him in a box.
Don't put him in a box. Don't put yourself in a box either, man.
Yeah.
No.
What was probably your biggest challenge when you were writing your books?
My biggest challenge is still my biggest challenge. And that is I get the ideas for things really, really quick. I have more ideas than I have time. And then I'm kind of like a piece worker in construction. I did construction for 10 years too. And piecework in construction is like blow and go. Like, get all of this out of me, here you go. Get all this out of me, here you go. So I'm still stuck in like, get all this out of me, here you go. And so the refining process for some of the books is still needs to be had, but that's just because I haven't got to the point where I can get a refiner to go through everything with a fine tooth comb. But that's all right. That's all right.
First step is admitting it, though.
Yeah, I'm all over the place half the time.
What's the biggest takeaway you want your readers to get from your books?
Well, I have 5 that are centered around like podcasting and business. I think the main thing that I want them to get is permission, like give themselves permission to be successful. And we don't know that, we'll only rise to the level of our heart beliefs. And so if we are limited in capacity within our own heart, that the outward life is going to reflect that capacity. We'll reach a certain ceiling and we'll fall back. And so the business books are all connected to really giving yourself permission to be successful, which, hey, a lot of people are scared of, and a lot of people are programmed. Well, we're all programmed to fail in some way or fashion. Yeah, if we be honest, we are programmed to fail. So overcoming that program and intentionally programming yourself to succeed, I think is key.
Yeah. Like I'm a big proponent on mindset and belief. I mean, you just have to believe that you can do it to make it happen.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, I have some writings on, men's journey and church stuff. The men's stuff, I would think that men are on a journey, and it doesn't matter what it is. It is kind of a quest, and the whole sanctification journey process with God is a growing and maturing and evolving to the more perfect self. We are one day going to be immortal, and or live as immortal in a immortal body. And so I would say, like, do your immortal self justice. And to kind of quote Marcus Aurelius, what we do now is going to echo in eternity.
Yeah.
So let's do it with this sense of excellence, man.
Yeah, I love it. How can people get a hold of you?
Yeah. So I'm a Facebook guy. Facebook is the number one way, 10xpodcasting.com. They can check that out. But I'm very, very active on Facebook. It's my main social media channel. They can find me on LinkedIn, Tim Holloway. I'm on there too. I'm on the other channels. I just don't spend any time there. I just post and leave.
Yeah, and I'll post all of that in the show notes too, since we're friends on Facebook.
Yeah. Facebook's the way, man.
Yeah. Is there anything we haven't covered that you want to talk about?
No, I don't think so, man. It's a very good interview, man. I appreciate it. Like,
Hey, not a problem.
I've been asked questions that I don't think I've ever been asked.
I just wanted to, man, once I started listening to your story, I was like, man, he's got such a similar story. It's crazy. And just for us to meet like how we did.
Yeah. Awesome, brother.
All right. Final question. What is one piece of advice you'd like to leave our listeners with about overcoming adversity?
Yeah. So I think one thing that attributes my success, I believe, in life is the ability to be flexible and to adapt. Now, both of those two keys are kind of together. And what that really correlates to is that you're able to roll with the punches. Now, if you're rigid, and that is more of like a control, like I have to control this thing. That's kind of what rigid is. And you find out that you're not in control, then you're going to kind of lose it. And so I would say that kind of using the analogy of the tree. Well, the tree is able to withstand the wind because of the limberness of it. It doesn't withstand the wind because it is so rigid. Okay. That means it has elasticity. And that is a sense of like, yeah, you may take a blow, but you bounce back. That's elasticity, right? And it's not in the strength of that you're so firm and you're so rigid or you're so strong. It's actually that you're very adaptable, and you can take a punch and you can keep on going. And I think here's my take on it, that people like us that have been through a lot of stuff, that I'm at the point now in life that I'm like, what else you got? What else you got? I didn't talk about in my 20s, reuniting with my father and him overdosing on heroin, reuniting with my mother and her dying from cancer, like just all of these different pains and things that we go through in life, that those are previous victories. Take it like a championship belt, right? And so when you go through all of these hard times, and then you come up with things that happen inside of life, it's like, man, is that all you got? Is that really? That's it, man. I've been through worse, and this thing ain't got nothing on me. So go ahead, Reminds me of that POD song. I don't know if you've ever heard of POD, but one of their songs, he's like, is that all you got? Take your best shot.
I like that. I mean, that was the one thing I had to learn too, was you're not in control. Every time you try to control it, bad things happen. Like, look where your life went when you thought you were in control of your life. Hand over the wheel.
Yeah. It's not gonna. We think of strength is grabbing that wheel, holding on tight, and just like grit. And it's actually quite the opposite. Is the ability to release and adapt.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Yeah. Well said. Well, Tim, I can't thank you enough for coming on here and sharing your story. I love it.
Appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much for the opportunity, man. I appreciate it.
Not a problem. Well, guys, that's going to be all the time we have here today. Remember, the only way to get what you want is go through the fire.
Boom.